one day recently I went out for a walk and it was a really nice, sunny, warm day. And I wanted to check out a few shops around the neighborhood. And I happened to be one that I often pass by with my pups. But I walk by it during siesta hours, which is when it's usually closed. And for those who are not familiar with the siesta hours here in Spain, these are determined hours throughout the day when shops and businesses close, and that ranges from 2 to 5 p.m. And during these hours, employees and business owners would go out for lunch because our lunchtime here is 2 p.m. These aren't considered peak hours for them since the majority of the people are also having lunch. But bars and restaurants usually fill up during these hours. This basically dates back to the 1930s, actually further back, but especially after the Spanish Civil War, it was commonplace for people to have two jobs. So this gave them time to rest or take a break after finishing a shift at one job before going to the other job. Many, smaller businesses, shops, they close during these hours, but bars and restaurants and large retail shops typically stay open. Anyway, this one particular furniture business that I pass by daily with my pups during the siesta hours is typically closed. So I'm often looking through the window, curious about the teacups and the teapots that they have near the entrance. And I also take the time once in a while to examine some of the unique pieces of furniture they have in front of the store. The front is basically all glass windows, so you can see far back into the shop if you want to. Well, that one particular beautiful day, when I was out walking around, checking out the many different shops in my neighborhood, I decided I would take the time to take a peek at what they have. And there also happened to be a sale. So this shop actually, it's been there for the last few years, perhaps even 4 to 5 years, but this was actually my first time walking into the shop. And as I walked in, I noticed there were a few people already looking around in the shop. I'm going to take some time here to describe what's in the shop basically, so you have a good idea of it. Well, the shop is quite large. It has high ceilings and it goes pretty far back. In it, you'll see several pieces of furniture ranging from a writing desk to a bookshelf to a coffee table, cabinets, and more. Many of them wooden and have an ornate Asian carving and features to them. Some were quite impressive, as if they should not even be in the shop. They tend to stick out from the other pieces of furniture, which were much more modern, and when you take a closer look, they're made from cheap materials. You could see the quality of craftsmanship was poor, as if they tried to find the quickest and most economical way to make these furniture. However, when you touch and feel the work of these other pieces of furniture that didn't seem to belong there, you could feel and know that there's much more to them, that they have a history and they just didn't belong there. It's as if they were ripped away from somewhere and just misplaced next to all the other pieces of furniture, which seemed to be of poor quality. I remember one especially caught my eye because it looked quite similar to a bookshelf I saw in a photo that was made of carved bamboo trunks, and that itself gave the bookshelf a very unique look. I'd love to have something similar to that in my home. But anyways, as I looked at this particular one in the shop, it was obvious that this particular bookshelf took time and hard work to make. I could also tell it was old, perhaps antique, but in very, very good condition. Well, anyway, as I looked around the shop, I noticed more and more how random these things were in its place. It wasn't a well-organized furniture shop as you would usually see. No, it's more like a thrift shop where you see many clothes and objects put together, sometimes randomly in some places because you don't know how to arrange some things. The objects and clothes are made from different times, different materials, and and because they're made from different times, you have different trends, and are in different conditions. Some are newer than others. This is kind of what I saw in this particular furniture shop. So there was this one moment as I was looking at a coffee table when I felt the need to halt, in a sense. So I'll explain the feeling in just a moment, but before I continue on, I just want to say hi and thank you so much for coming to our channel, Metaphysical Awakening. It's been quite a unique journey for us as we navigated through this unexpected path we decided to take. This year has been a very pleasant one so far for me because of some unexpected good news that I received, and I hope things will take off positively. We'll see. Not everything in life is an exciting journey, but we can do our best along the way. I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to visit our channel, and we're very pleased about the attention we've been receiving on our website. We hope that the information there is helpful to you in some way. There's more to come, of course. So if you are ever in need of a spiritual consultation or some help with connecting with your loved ones and or spirit guides on the other side, don't hesitate to contact us. We'll be more than pleased to offer our services. The links of those services are down below in the description. As time goes on, you'll expect to see our consultation services growing in a unique way. We won't just be offering our consultation services that have been a great experience for many and ourselves too, but we'll be adding additional services that are uniquely tailored to you. So keep watch for those services to come in the near future. But yes, we thank you so much for your time and your loving support. We've received nothing but kindness from individuals, and we're happy to do what we do. Life is so much brighter and better doing things that we love. So we thank you so much for the opportunity. Well, without further ado, I'll go into what took place when I suddenly felt the need to halt. As I was standing in front of the coffee table, I felt a surge of energy run through my core as if my energy frequencies gathered together to form a straight rod along my back. And this gave me an uncomfortable sensation, like something was wrong. So as I stood in front of the coffee table, I closed my eyes briefly and took a breath and calmed my mind to focus on what's going on around me metaphysically. No one was around me at the time, so there weren't any uncomfortable stares from anyone as I was doing this. It took just a second to listen to what's going on around me, and I noticed some reactions from people around me. And when I say people, I mean spirits in particular. I felt their reaction to me being there and being told to leave the place. So I was a bit surprised. So I focused on talking specifically to my guides to see, okay, what's going on here. And I was told to walk out, and once I'm outside, they would go, they would explain to me what's going on. Now, when we go to public places, there may be a whole lot of spirits around you. So it can be quite hard to try to tune in or zero in on one specific spirit and be able to hear what that person is trying to tell you. So this was a reason why my guides asked me, just to calmly walk out of the shop before they explained to me what's going on. So of course I turned around and left the shop, and as I was walking up the street, I listened to my guides, and one of them, he softly explained to me that there were stolen goods in the shop, and I was like, stolen goods? But then it hit me, that explains, the wild organization of the pieces of furniture in the shop. It was just so random. However, they were not sold as if they were used or had been previously owned. They were sold as if they were new, but it was obvious that they were from different times. I mean that they weren't made recently. Well, anyway, I walked home and didn't ask any further questions till the following morning as I was lying in bed. And I started asking about the place. What turned into an emotional moment for me started out simply as curiosity. What I learned about the situation was that many of those pieces of furniture were in fact new. There are pieces that you can find easily online. However, there were a few pieces of furniture you would not find online. In fact, you may find them being passed on from one family member to another, or one generation to another. You see, what I learned is that some of these pieces had spirits or members of some families attached to them. These pieces were prized possessions for some, and they had planned on passing it down through generations for their family line to enjoy. For some, they were furniture they inherited from a loved one who passed, and so this meant a lot to them. There are stories of hardships and family strife attached to them, and that was their legacy that they left behind. It was a symbol of their strength through it all. It was a symbol showing that through it all they maintained their strength and prosperity somehow. And what I mean by that is that material possessions in some part of the world meant status. And if you were able to hold on to an ornate piece of furniture that was made by a master craftsman, it meant you had some sort of status in society, and through all the hardship in that particular life, that person or family was able to hold on to it. So there can be an attachment to possessions for many different reasons. The reason I became emotional at one moment was because of the understanding of what these individuals must have felt seeing their most prized possession being sold, as if their hardship had meant nothing, as if their desire to pass it on to their children and their grandchildren had meant so little. You see, many of these things, when feeling into it, I feel were confiscated from their family for one reason or another. However, much of the reason that I felt had to do with the poverty in the family in the country where these pieces were imported from. I could feel the sadness and the devastation these families felt from their loss. So it opened my mind to the possibility of such things taking place in what you think is a normal shop. But of course, there are clues that are quite obvious to observe, which can tell a thing or two about the business. But two, you can feel a certain kind of emotion attached to them, a certain kind of energy. You may experience this in an antique shop or even in a thrift shop because they were once owned by someone, and you never know how it got there or if it's been confiscated, like in this case. So be aware of your emotions, how you feel when you pick up something that had once belonged to someone. Of course, not all have someone attached to it. Honestly, I believe it's a rare occasion when it happens to us, but it happens nonetheless. And we've heard stories of someone buying an antique and then suddenly noticing strange things happening in their house. It happens. So what do we do when that happens? Well, first I would say respect the individual who's attached to it. Respect their emotions. They are people like you and I, only in spirit form, and then take the time to use your own innate abilities to communicate with them. First, observe. No need to fill our mind with how or what we can say or ask. Just observe and watch what you see. And most of all, observe what you feel. You see, this is a form of communication, and with that, you have achieved the first step. Receiving communication can get messy at times, so be patient with yourself as you observe. And I say observe because our mind can get muddled at times with this and that worry, and we tend to overthink the situation. Imagine yourself sitting and having a coffee or tea with someone. All you basically do is look into their eyes to show that you're attentive and hearing out, what they got to say. No need to do more than that. Just observe, because they already know what you feel in your heart, what you're thinking in your mind. So the best thing to do is just to keep it simple. The understanding that takes place on both sides is enough to move on. Many times they may just want to show you what it means to them, and other times they may explain or tell you the story behind it. Whatever the case, listen with your heart and you'll see what it is that they want to tell you. And for those who feel something is not right about an object that you see in a shop, like in an antiques shop or wherever, it's probably best not to get it. You never know who you'll take home with you. And I'm not trying to scare anyone, but there have been stories told by individuals who have had a terrible time with them. So be aware of those cases. So yeah, I believe that's it. We thank you so much for coming onto our channel, Metaphysical Awakening, and we hope that you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and we hope that you're able to take the time to sit and relax, perhaps somewhere with a nice cup of tea or coffee, and enjoy the view out your window if it's too cold to be outside. Enjoy the sounds of birds chirping, and take the time to recognize their chirps, because birds in your area can be quite interesting. I'm realizing how different they are from each other, and how their behavior says a lot about the different species in the bird kingdom. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, and be happy and be good to yourself. With much love from Spain, enjoy your day. Bye.